it's just a banister you want to stick your head in? Business is a learning experience. You're not an expert. There's a lot of things about business that can't.
Hey,
What?
yo, what are you doing, man?
Well, voice that sounds very strangely like me. Right now, I plan on taking my car down and illegally crossing the United States-Mexican border to that way I can go down to Tijuana, join some sort of religious cult, probably sacrifice this tiny dog to an Aztec blood god. That way, when I enter the mechanical engineering field, my enemies will fall and tremble at the very mention of my name, and my future will be secured as a mechanical engineer.
That's a plan, I guess.
Yep, a good plan too.
Have you ever considered maybe going to university instead?
What's that?
Here, how about I show you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty reliable. Here, tell me more about that. University Review. Specifically, the University of Tulsa with their Mechanical Engineering BSME program, attributed to myself, James Valentine. See? Look at this place. It looks nice. So, let's begin with the curriculum itself. So, we gotta begin with the foundation courses, right? So with these foundation courses, these will be the courses you'll be taking with more core-oriented classes like math, as seen here, right? Lots of math, lots of physics. So they total up to 17 hours, and in order to be in the program, students need to keep up with at least a 2.5 GPA in these courses, but I'll get to that later. So now, we get into math. Now, there's lots of calculus to be had here, with not 1 or 2, but 3 courses in it, which, that's a lot. Not to mention differential equations. Oh boy, it's a lot, isn't it? So, this comes up to a total of 14 hours of math credit divided over a few semesters. You might take the calculus ones in succession, which would be very optimal since, you want to cram it in there a bit, wouldn't you? So now we're going to go to another part of STEM, science. So, many more classes to be had here as seen, but it still only clocks in at 15 hours, one more than math. So notice the choice at the bottom, right? The choice of either General Chemistry 2 or General Physics 3. This will help you if perhaps your minor relates to one of these courses and you can get a bit more experience in it, or, I would personally recommend doing physics, as physics is much more involved with mathematics, and as the saying goes, right, physics is applied mathematics, engineering is applied physics, so might want to get that in there, So now we're getting to a bit more of the juicy stuff, the engineering classes. So everything is here, from circuits to statics to thermodynamics and energy. Everything here will contribute to your engineering degree in different ways, coming in at a whopping 25 hours of credit. Much more than that measly 14 or 15. This is going to take you a bit longer to complete after you go through foundation courses, most certainly. But then, there was more. So, now we get into the program itself, the mechanical engineering parts, the parts you're here for. So, some of these are more introductory courses, such as to be a mechanical engineer, which don't count for too much credit. And some of these teach more the basics of being a mechanical engineer. They teach many topics such as dynamics, how materials behave, and many others. And when I say many others, I mean it. These courses get a bit more in-depth with the mechanical part of mechanical engineering. Everything from systems to design projects is here. There's also mechanical engineering elective at the bottom, and including that, you've got a total of 41 hours in these classes, almost double the just general engineering courses. Now, of course, concerning just electives in general, right, or at least this section of electives, right, you can either choose between a mechanical engineering elective or a math elective to count for 3 hours of your credit. Specifically for math, one course beyond the differential equations course that were part of your math curriculum. So this specific elective, again, will count for 3 hours of credit. There are more electives, however. You get a choice between 3 different classes, right? So you got CFD for engineers, Introduction to Finite Element Analysis, and Introduction to Numerical Methods, all of which are pretty self-explanatory, and again, it will count for 3 hours of credit. And of course, a person has to take a general elective, of which the college just has 2 main to list. They range and vary greatly, however, they will count for 3 hours. Keep in mind this ranges a lot. It's a lot like here at George Ranch, where you got everything from arts to engineering to Spanish to whatever have you. So have at it. Have some fun with it, right? Got to take some fun classes in there. Now, of course, lastly, in the electives part, there's another computational elective, just with different lengths and choices and whatnot, right? So this leans more towards English and the humanities, of which there are 24 hours of credit. There are, as seen here, a few constraints concerning the humanities, as the humanities will only take up 18 hours, meaning that both English classes are required. And, you know, you gotta take a specialized humanity course rather than the introductory ones, otherwise the hours for this just will not count. So be sure to keep that in mind. Now, you might be wondering just, you know, how many hours there are total, right? Because, I mean, unless you've been doing mental math this whole time, which, have I been that boring? Well, you see, there's a total of 128 hours. That's a lot. Now, of course, those were only the courses, which means that there's a whole lot to unpack concerning the university still, because they have expectations too. You can't just waltz in, take the classes, get out, right? You gotta really do it, you know? So, here, let's get to see what I mean, right? GPA. So, GPA is extremely important. I mean, you know, you want to be like smart people, right? You want to be like this fine gentleman right here, who is in an actual workshop shown on the University of Tulsa's website. Which, I mean, hey, I want to be like that guy. He looks like he's working on something important. So, if a person wants to be there, they need that GPA. So it's a minimum of 2 overall and in your major courses, and a 2.5 in your foundation courses. After all, if you can't do math, you're going to be very, very bad as a mechanical engineer. And also, in order to complete the foundation courses, it takes 4 semesters of holding up that 2.5 GPA, or 2 school years, as you might put it. So, how the heck are you supposed to get in? Well, I have the answer. So, firstly, there are 2 ways in which a person can apply, right? There's online and on paper, but all applications are the same, they have the same requirements. Now, there's a whole lot to unpack here, but if you want to be a bit more simple about it, right, this includes the application itself, a high school transcript, or a record of your GED scores if you took that instead, SAT or ACT scores, in which there are a few options to verify the scores, and a school report form, which is filled out after you send the initial application. But of course, there is more. So there is an address to mail the application to if you're not using the online application process, an interview, which, while not necessary, is recommended by the university on their website. There is also an entire checklist if you were homeschooled, as a high school transcript will be pretty hard to come by if you didn't go to a high school. There's also confirmation of a green card required if you have one and are a permanent resident. And lastly, if you're 25 or older, an SAT and ACT score are not required, although do keep in mind they may request more testing if the admission committee deems it as necessary. So, of course, a person needs to know when to do this. For early action admission, the application needs to be postmarked by November 1st, after which notifications are sent around mid-December. Concerning a bit later for rolling admission, which happens immediately after early action admission on November 2nd, after which notifications are sent a month later than early action in mid-January. For deadlines for scholarships, it is best to submit applications for them before February. And lastly, one needs to tell the university that you're coming, that is, if you're accepted, by May 1st. So now we're at the most fun part, objectively. The money you need to pay. Okay, so in all honesty, it's not a pretty subject, but it is a necessary one. So we have a nice little chart here. So tuition by itself for both the fall and spring semesters are currently $20,424. This counts from an average of tuitions varying from 12 to 18 hours for a total per year of $40,484. Room rates, which are optional, can just be above $3,000 per semester or $6,000 per year, of course for double occupancy rooms, and there are also meal plans available for over $2,000 per semester and $4,500 per year. And so if you take advantage of all these programs, that would be $25,800 per semester or $51,600 per year. So of course there are also student fees. One of these is the student services fee, which is $484 and is only charged during the first semester you're enrolled in a class. This covers orientation, graduation, and adding or dropping courses. There's also the Students Association fee, which is $70 per semester, and the community fee, which includes support services like tutoring and the technology you'll be using in class, and is $175 per semester. Lastly, there's a Residence Hall Association fee, pretty self-explanatory, which is $25 per semester or $50 per year. Now, there are a few other costs that are harder to quantify due to the differences in classes and location, but on average, the cost for books for classes is $1,200 and the cost of travel is $1,508. So, of course, people need a way to pay for all of this. That's just fun, isn't it? So this is where plans and loans and scholarships and such come into play. So there are different payment plans for different semesters, as seen here, and these merely dictate how many payments you make in order to pay off your tuition. Now, of course, it may not look like there's a lot on this screen, but there's a lot of information here. So in order to fulfill payment, there are many options. 5 here, in fact. So, beginning from the top down, A direct subsidized loan needs a student to qualify for financial aid according to their FAFSA. The money itself is $31,000 for dependent undergraduates, which doesn't go past $23,000 in loan funds, and $57,500 for independent undergraduates, and also doesn't go past $23,000 in loan funds. The interest rate for both of these is currently 5.05%. Then there are direct unsubsidized loans. The difference between an unsubsidized loan and a subsidized one is that it is still possible to qualify for the loan if, as determined by your FAFSA, you're not in financial need. They also have a different interest rate at 6.6%. Now, there are also direct graduate plus loans, which requires a FAFSA, and whether or not you're approved depends on absence of credit rather than credit worthiness. This loan doesn't list a definite amount of money, but does have an interest rate of 7.6%. There's also Parent Plus loans, in which only parents of a dependent student can apply. This loan, just like the last one, has an interest rate of 7.6%. Finally, there is the private loan, the shortest one of all, because it is done through a third party of the applicant's choosing and has different amounts of money as well as interest rates. See, I told you there was a lot of information here. So how about some scholarships then? So, the University of Tulsa does have many scholarships listed on their website. As a matter of fact, they have too many to list here, so I've only listed some that are specific to engineering, as that is the program being highlighted here. So, and by the way, these scholarships are specifically for outside undergraduate students. Apologies. So, the AES Engineering Scholarship is probably the most straightforward of these. It requires applicants to answer a question in 500 to 1,000 words. That question being, when you look back on your life in 30 years, what would it take for you to consider your life successful? What relationships or accomplishments would be important on this journey? The award for this is $500. Patty Johnson Wilson Foundation Scholarship gives out $3,000 to $5,000 and requires a minimum of a 3.5 GPA. Not to mention the students need to be in financial need and also working a part-time job. The form is linked on University of Tulsa's homepage. And second to lastly, the Society of American Military Engineers Scholarship, which gives $1,000 to 3 students, requires applicants to give them a transcript, a letter of recommendation, a statement about the applicant's goals in engineering, and a statement about the applicant's activities outside college and school. So, now lastly, the Horatio Alger Association awards 10 $10,000 scholarships to freshmen after their first fall semester and are specifically pursuing a degree in STEM. Applicants are required to demonstrate great financial need with a maximum of $55,000 of adjusted gross income per family, United States citizenship, the integrity in overcoming adversity, and each different scholarship in the organization requires GPA varying from 2.0 to 3.4. We're in the home stretch. Whew, man, it's a lot of information in a very short amount of time. Well, we're in the home stretch now, so university life. What does that include? Features. So, the University of Tulsa, of course, has a main feature, right? So the main feature of the university is their fitness center, the Fulton and Susie Collins Fitness Center, as pictured here. It has many different pieces of different equipment, including a suspended indoor track, a multi-purpose room used for aerobics, dance, as well as kickboxing, and more. So just a few more, alright. We're almost there. There's also a food court open to all students, which has a range of many different foods, ethnic foods, the like. And there are also numerous student organizations on the campus, such as sororities to groups like the American Association of Petroleum Geologists and the Capella Chamber Singers. And those are some pretty niche organizations, so I'm sure you'd be able to find something that you would want to do there. Alright, well, now we're on the credits. So, yeah, that plan about Tijuana. Alright, do you still want to do that? Yeah, I mean, better safe than sorry and all that.